You know what else is stupid, isn't it? I don't know, but I was remember that you guys were back up. I'm sure
That's what I
that's what I was
thought.
like.
I'm gonna get a head start.
Get one leg out.
Lisa, are you ready?
Sit backwards.
All right. Okay, everyone, it's 5 o'clock. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. All righty, we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Everybody to stand. Mr. Putnam, can you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now, Mrs. Kay will introduce her students and get the national anthem.
All right. Okay, so first up here we have Ms. Morelli Mordrano. She's a freshman here at GCHS, and she's one of our clarinet players. Recently, she just earned top band at Marshall University's art band over the weekend, and she was the only freshman out of how many were there? About 300 students in total at the event. Yeah, she was the only freshman within the top band, so that's pretty impressive. And right next to me, I have Maisie Hammer. She's a sophomore, and she plays trumpet. Last year, she earned gold band at WVU's art band, and I'm hoping to take her back next year and accomplish the same thing. So, yes, they're going to be playing the national anthem for you guys. We're going to One, two, three, one, two.
Alrighty, at this time we'll move into delegations, and we have one, Mr. David Brown.
Rather than sending you all an impersonal email, because I'm here to represent the advertising committee for the senior play, I just came to invite you all to our play, The Trial of the Wicked Witch, which will be taking place March 14th at 7 p.m. here in the gym at the high school. And I'll give you all this flyer.
Thank you, very thank you. Thank you. Alright, we have no other further delegations, so at this time we'll move into reports, and that's the Gilmer County High School LSIC presentation. Mr. Buck.
That's the microphone they have a little bit. You guys hear up there, all right? Can I help a little bit? Hello, family, it's a little bit loud. First, we'd like to introduce our LSIC members, the ones that are here. Veda Woodford is our chair. She's unable to be here this evening. Shelley Ratliff and Tamara Huff Those are our county representatives on our LSIC. Service personnel is Jennifer Prince and Patty Nicely. It's nice this year. Educators include Tabitha Bell, Kelsey Hickman, Heather Ferris. She happens to be our vice chairperson as well. And our alternate educators are Jacob Yoakum and Larry White. Members at large include Brian Groves and Mayor Dennis Fitzpatrick. Our student body representative is Bailey Frazier. Of course, I'm always at these meetings as well, along with Nathan Haynes, Michaela Fox, as council over ex officio members, not voting. So, we'd like to open up, just to say welcome to Gilmer County High School. We have several things we would like to share with you this evening. Obviously, we have some treats we're going to have just a little bit later. Monica Haley's food class prepared the sliders and bruschetta and the vegetable trays that's there. We have some cupcakes made by Lindsay Putnam for dessert as well. So we'll get to that in a little bit. I'd like to start off with a presentation of our discipline matrix that we had hoped that Mr. Haynes, he's not feeling real well this evening, we hoped that he would be here to present this part. So we're kind of combining our strategic plan and our discipline matrix in together. So we're going to present on some of that information first. So, do they have a copy of this? Okay. So let's just go ahead and advance the slide. Go through. So we'll start with our strategic plan. Each school has a strategic plan. Our two schools in the county strategic plans roll up together into a county plan. And that county plan is submitted to the state, and it affects everything from curriculum and instruction to attendance and discipline and funding as well for our county. So Gilmer County High School has a strategic plan. We have two primary goals in instruction. They are that 80% of our students will show growth using our benchmark data in both ELA and math. So there's two goals. Each one of the goals, when you're in the plan, will have a breakdown that'll show different activities for math that you would see as opposed to English language arts, and what that looks like all the way down to the very specific level of who's responsible for each specific small task to meet that activity. I'll spare you taking you through the GPS West Virginia Department of Education system to show you all those subheadings, but it is an enjoyable experience for those of you that have been on that planning team to look at that. So presently, after our first benchmark, 60% of our students have shown growth from the first benchmark to the second in English language arts and reading. And 61% have shown growth in mathematics. So we're still not there for 80% across the board for our school goal, but we have made significant progress since the beginning of the school year. Specific strategies in mathematics, and some of these I've shared with you before, include that we're going to have math lab classes, and we do this year. We put this in our plan strategically, so that in each grade of high school, for freshmen, sophomores, and juniors, typically freshmen would take Algebra 1, sophomores would take geometry, and juniors would take Algebra 2. For each one of those grade levels, we have included what's called a math lab. And the math lab is an extra math course for students that don't necessarily have an IEP, but maybe they struggle in mathematics and they need that extra boost. So in addition to the regular Algebra 1 class, somewhere in another period in the day, they would have it for Algebra 1 happens to be 8th period. They would have that lesson revisited, have a chance to work on their homework, be able to ask questions of a certified math teacher. I apologize, I'm on cold medicine and my mouth is dry as a bed. In addition, we have added an Algebra 1 for our 8th grade honors group. So this is the first year that we've done that. So we want to look at students across the spectrum, not just students that are struggling in math, but what are we doing for our highest achieving math students as well? This has been done before at Gilmer County High School. It's been several years ago. So given that option, last year we wanted to actually use geometry in 8th grade, but that waiver was not approved by the Department of Education. They felt that was too aggressive. So we stepped back this year to having Algebra 1 in grade 8. That's taught by Ava McHenry. So she's a middle school math teacher, but she also teaches Algebra 1 to 8th graders as a high school credit. And she also teaches one of our Algebra 1 sections to freshmen as well. We wanted to increase the remediation periods for grades 7 and 8. So we've actually added an entire semester more of mathematics for every middle school student. And that came from Ava McHenry not teaching PE and health like her predecessor did, to only being certified in mathematics, as well as we took part of a 7th grade computer science class and took it back to a half of a year rather than all year long, so we can add an entire semester of mathematics added in. It used to be you'd have 90 minutes of mathematics and 90 minutes of reading in the middle school model, but then that shifted to only the ELA, to the English Language Arts. We're trying to kind of massage our master schedule to get back to that, so we've increased the number of minutes. All of this is in our strategic plan of what we want to accomplish. IXL Math is a program that's aligned to state standards in mathematics. Kids can go on and take assessments. It goes beyond STAR. The STAR benchmark doesn't provide lessons that go along with the data. So the IXL Math, they're able to go in and take an assessment and tell us what specific West Virginia standards they're deficient in, and then be able to take lessons on the computer to be able to help them recover the missing parts of the standards that they lack. Khan Academy is actually not in our strategic plan, but we just had a strategic planning meeting recently, and we want to put Khan Academy more strongly into our strategic plan for next year. So I threw it in because some of our teachers are piloting that this year. Just last year, we added on voluntarily, not with any prompting from the state, we added on PSAT testing for grades 9 and 10. Those were 2 gap years that we did not have data. So we had GSA at 6, 7, 8. Then you had no more data until they were juniors taking the SAT. We wanted to know how they were progressing in those 2 years. So we voluntarily added in PSAT at grades 9 and 10. And then that gives us data that we can use with the Khan Academy that has specific lessons, and it ties directly. When you log into the Khan Academy, it actually logs into your PSAT scores as well, and it recommends lessons that you can do through that infrastructure as well. So we're excited about that. We have some teachers using that, both in English and math, and that's one of the things we're going to make sure we add in to our strategic plan for math in this coming year. We're piloting this year. And we have a certified 6th grade math teacher. The reason I put that on there is because something similar as what the elementary school did to departmentalize, we did that about 2 years ago with 6th grade. We realized we had a certified middle school math teacher that wasn't just a multi-subjects or multi-categorical teacher, but she's actually certified in middle school math and up to Algebra 1. So we assigned all the mathematics in 6th grade to her in the general ed courses. So that's something we put in our strategic plan to hopefully give us a boost in 6th grade math. We have increased our dual credit courses in mathematics this year, and we added in another college course. So where we had college algebra for our upperclassmen in the past, it gave you a 1 3-hour class with Columbus State University. We've doubled that. So now each semester they get 3 hours of math credit. So we actually doubled the amount of content in our college algebra dual credit class. Finally, we have given trigonometry and physics. Both of those were underpopulated. Obviously, kids just would not take trig because it's a high-level math class, and they might take a chance to get the B or C in there, and they have a high GPA, so it's honors kids did not want to take trig, so we had 4 kids, 3 kids taking trig. We found that to be a gap in the curriculum. When kids go to college and take calculus, they need the trig foundation. So we added honors designation to that so that it would be weighted. Along with that, being a science person, I pushed for the physics too, because I remember having 4 kids in physics the first 4 year I taught here. We wanted to increase the numbers of physics too. English language arts has fewer bullets because really our focus this year, as you'll see from our scorecard, is mathematics. More than ELA, but we do have 2 goals. So ELA is included, so not to diminish reading. We have included after-school tutors with ELA teachers. So we have a strategic plan for kids to be able to be identified by reading teachers and then receive after-school tutoring specific to reading. We have the sharing of our STAR data from the ELA teachers across different content areas. So, for example, an English teacher would share with a social studies teacher, say, hey, here's where my kids are hitting with their data. Is there something you can do in social studies that would give more informational text and some deeper reading? We purchase supplemental content for ELA teachers. So you have your primary text that you use in your classes, but there's a lot of other things that you can add, reading materials that can be added in. Now, Shelley Mason worked very closely with us, and I would say it's a blessing in Gilmer County, pretty much to add whatever we wanted to within reason in Gilmer County schools for kids to read, whatever we can do to help read. And then we have the IXL also in ELA, and the Kansas Writing Strategy. Sherry West is an instructional coach. Has spent a lot of time in this building this year, and we want to, not just for certain grade levels, say we're doing Kansas writing, but at every grade level, all the way across, we want kids to share the same language of what the Kansas Writing Strategy does. And we were much more, I'm going to say strategic, much more strategic in having that be the focus at every single grade level, looking for that in the lesson plans, making comments when we see teachers including Kansas writing, and then asking Sherry to make visits for teachers that need more professional development. We have professional development sessions just on Kansas writing this fall. For our school improvement initiatives overall, we want to establish a strong LSIC, which you'll hear from today. We want to improve our professional learning communities, which we have in each content area. We have an ELA group, we have a math group, we have a science group, social studies, and so on, all the way to related arts. Each one of those groups gives us a representative that comes from that group that is on our school leadership team. And our school leadership team makes a lot of the instructional decisions for our school, alongside faculty senate, school leadership team, and the LSIC. Those are your three main governing bodies that help us with the decision making of where the school goes. There's a lot of building infrastructure improvements. Maybe Mr. Fraser sometime will give you guys updates, probably does through email. I've got some of his bulletin lists. A lot of things we've been working on. As we tour the school later, you'll see things, areas where we might just stop and say, this is where this is going to take place, and here's where this new part has been added for our school. We have a lot of school spending for teaching and learning, and that wasn't always the case according to the teachers here. So they have a lot more autonomy to say, here's what I need in order to teach science in my classroom. Here's the probes I need, here's the microscopes I need. Mr. Butler, can we get this? And a lot of that authority has been given to them. I sign a lot of requisitions. Mr. Chester over shaking said yes. Sometimes he'll call me and say, you sure you want to buy this? And I'll explain what it's for, such as big tubs to have maple sap run into, or lines and all that, what that's all about. But we have a much better spending mechanism for teachers than we did. We have, we want to talk about this, but we'll talk about that in just a minute with our matrix. And we want to also support attendance initiatives. You'll see that throughout the strategic plan. If you look at our strategic plan, you'll see attendance. If kids aren't here, then they can't learn. And that's a hit that we're taking on our scorecard. You'll see a little bit later when Mrs. Ferris presents her scorecard. We also have had pacing guides, lesson planning, and instructional walkthroughs. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what those look like. We'll first talk about decreasing classroom disturbances, trying to improve our classroom management and decrease the number of referrals. This year we've had a 50% decrease from where we are today at the same time last year. And a big part of that is that we employed what's called a discipline matrix. And you have a copy of that in front of you. We looked at about 10 different schools that have a discipline matrix, and basically what it is, you take parts of policy 4373 and say if a student does this, and this is their action, then the discipline action that goes with that is 2 days in detention. And the second offense is 1 day of in-school suspension. And the next day is 1 day of out-of-school suspension. Okay, and it lays that out, sharing that with the students, putting copies of this in the classroom, training the teachers on how it works, and then as administrators, when a teacher makes a referral, and that comes through to us, then we apply exactly what the discipline matrix says to do. That's helped consistency a lot. When I became principal at Gilmer County High School, the #1 issue students have with discipline is that all students are not treated the same. If you're this child's, just this parent's child, they're allowed to wear this and say this and go here and do that, but not this other child that is they were part of the county. And I hear all that. So to try to shore up the consistency, this discipline matrix has gone a long way to say it's not personal. Mr. Woodford, if that's what you did, here's the first offense, and here's what it is. And that's helped a lot. We want the teachers to do these things. We want them to expect respectful behavior. You're going to see the number one discipline issue we have in our school is disrespect and disturbances that's caused by students not respecting the authority of the teacher in the classroom. Number one. And it's by far and large more males towards female teachers than it is in any other category. We'll not break that specific data down tonight, but I will show you what some of the bar graphs look like about this. We want teachers to maintain the authority, and you saw my last one already, so we can scroll. So as you see, disrespect is by far the largest bar that we have in the top 5 behaviors. I would say 38% of everything that gets put through is because a student's been disrespectful towards a teacher. As you see, profanity over to the right, that's been helped a lot with the discipline matrix. And there's profanity that a kid might be mad about something and it's not a cuss word, and then there's profanity where a student puts their finger in the teacher's face and says, F you. And that's completely different. Okay, so there's different levels of that profanity bar graph that's there. Cell phone use made the top 5. It's a big issue at Gilmer County High School. Kids wanting to use their cell phones all the time, everywhere, filming things and doing things that's inappropriate with their cell phone, as well as cheating and a whole bunch of other things that's hiding that. Being targeted for class. Now this, since we've got the new lockers, this is an issue that students have brought to us and say, can you do something with our master schedule to increase more time between classes? It's pretty tight when we can't carry a clear backpack anymore, but we're trying to get to our class. So we're working on something that would help lower this targeting number. And I think just another minute, I think would help us a lot. We've got to protect our instructional minutes. That's through code too, so we've got to be careful there. But we're looking at a way maybe to shrink our noon free time just a little bit to be able to pick up some of those minutes that we need. Here's the percentage of detentions. I'm just going to say discipline referrals. It's not just detention, but discipline referrals by grade is kind of what we're looking at. You maybe see that the 10th grade stands out a little bit. When we have this data with our school leadership team, we look at things like this. We say, what do you think causes that? And we have ideas that come forward about not only what causes, but what we might do to try to mitigate that particular class of students. The good news is by the time they're seniors, they're doing pretty well at 4%. So, no senioritis here. All right, go ahead. We want the teachers to always tell the student if they're going to receive a referral. We want the communication to be first with the teacher. At least give a warning. And I'm looking at Jared. I'll just use Jared and say, Jared, you didn't raise your hand and you're talking and I'm ready for instruction. That's your warning. If they can make it through a 45-minute class period, they're good. Could be on that second one, I'm giving you a referral for the certain class. And it's written, and we ask the teachers to communicate that clearly to the students when they receive a referral. We want to reach out to parents every time, every phone call, every message that's left on our phones, every email that's sent. I'll tell you that doesn't always happen with every teacher. But we try to look for that, we try to help that. When parents call and say, hey, I've reached out to this teacher a couple times, got no response, we're on top of that as administrators to try to improve that parent-teacher relationship. We do have calls for more serious advice. I'm on the phone with parents a lot, saying here's what happened, want you to know what happened. And also we send home in writing every single referral. Gets printed, folded, put in an envelope, and we pay the postage to send every single referral. And for last year, that was about 1,800 referrals. And at this point, we're at about 500. So we're hoping to stay under 1,000. We would be happy with that as improvement. All right, and we have a new ISS room that we can use in-school suspension instead of out-of-school suspension, trying to keep kids here. That helps attendance, helps kids learn. Sometimes it hurts their deer hunting on that second week of deer season, but they're here at school, and they're getting some of their algebra homework done. I would like to talk about classroom walkthroughs. When I became principal, I purchased through the school what's called e-walks. So it's an electronic walkthrough platform where I can go into a classroom in 5 to 10 minutes, take a non-punitive, non-evaluative assessment of the classroom, and send that back to the individual teacher, then pull all that data together electronically and be able to review it as part of our school leadership team and whole faculty. These are the things that we're looking for in the walkthrough. Curriculum instructions align standards. Students are doing work with high expectations, informative assessment processes, instructional time is used efficiently. Right, data. Right, there you go. And here's some of our data. I know you can't read that from where you are. These are the 4 things I just read to you that we look for. I'll just say that our lowest one there, formative assessment processes are utilized to measure student performance. What we're looking at for formative assessment means we gauge what the students know and are able to do, but they still have an opportunity to learn before you take that final grade. So it could be as simple as saying, Mr. Fraser, do you understand what I just said? Tell me back how to do that problem. Or it could be, we're going to take this quiz, and guess what? That quiz didn't count for a grade, but it tells us a lot about what we need to learn before we get to the test on Friday. So there's a lot of different formative assessment practices. I look for that in the classroom in action. Also look for that in their lesson plans. So that's our lowest one. That's the one we're working on the most. The best one is that our curriculum and instruction are aligned to state standards. There's some state standards that's referenced when we're looking at instruction in the classroom. Student engagement means when you come into a classroom, students may be well behaved. They may be looking at you. They may be looking at the teacher. It looks like they're sitting up and listening, but their brains could be anywhere. You say, so how do you measure that? How do you measure what's actually going on in the kid's head? Well, the way we do that is we look for student learning conversations. We look for times that the lesson breaks out to where kids are talking about the content. Not talking about everything they want to talk about at recess, but talking about and looking for engaging ways that teachers can say, let's break out and talk about what your methodology was for solving that kind of problem. When we see that, those student learning conversations, that takes engagement to a higher level. So there's 6 different levels through David Valentine's IPI, what we call the IPI research, that we have employed and put into our walkthrough that looks for these levels of engagement. And these are the levels. And you see very, very low, 0%, have we found where students are completely disengaged. You walk in a classroom, everybody's asleep. Teachers not doing anything, kids aren't doing anything. That would be 0 engagement. But we also have very few times, only 1.4%, when we find the very active, high-level parts of student engagement where the students are leading their own instruction and having conversations about it and working through complex problems. So we want to increase that. And most of the time, we're seeing student-led instruction, which means you walk in and the teacher is the primary owner of the content, and those students are looking and we think they're engaged, but we're not 100% sure. So we're trying to improve this kind of engagement strategy. We're also looking for classroom behavior. Okay, we're looking, is it safe? Are students responsible for their actions, for their assignments? Are the teachers organizing the structure of the lesson so the class time is used efficiently? And we're finding that a lot of times we're seeing that happen. A lot of times you walk in, there's 7 minutes of class left, students have shut down for the day. And that would be a low level of using classroom time efficiently, effectively, and that would show here. We also look at their lesson plans, and we have a lesson plan e-walk. When I open a teacher's lesson plans, I go through an electronic platform and I look for things. And these are the things I look for. I'll try to move things along a little quicker. Do they turn their plans in on time? Are they meeting the standards? Are they aligned with standards? Are there objectives? Are there problems of the day? That's what the POD means. Is there something that kicks it off? Anticipatory sets, what we call it when we were in college, a bell ringer, some teachers call that. Do they have that? So are we going bell to bell with something that used to? are the activities multimodal? Do we do the same thing every day? So every day in social studies class it's a lecture and you're showing slides. We want to break that up. We want kids to do something different every 15 minutes. Their attention spans are not what they used to be. Maybe when I was in school I could listen to Mr. Archer talk for 45 minutes, but kids can't do that anymore, so you need to change the mode. Are they using applications such as technology-based applications to keep kids engaged? We're a one-to-one school. We have all these devices and computers. Are we using those to keep kids engaged and interested in the content? And again, we look at formative and summative assessments. And there's that bar graph. I'm going to say, for the most part, it's in pretty good shape. Where we can use some improvement is in the areas of technology integration, which we have a lot of technology in our school. That's one of the lowest bars. It also goes along with the applications use, which is technology integration, Gizmos, IXL, STAR, Quizlet, etc. And is there a variety of activities? So again, that's the part we're trying to grow. That's the part that this data, when we present this to the whole staff, then they understand why we put that into our strategic plan and why we're pushing in that direction. If you have any questions or any kind of discussion or anything you'd like to know about the discipline matrix, about the e-blocks, both for lesson plans and for classroom walkthroughs, about the strategic plan, what the strategic plan is meant to do, anything you'd like to ask me about those topics. Thank you. Heather? Ferris. I'm going to click the buttons for you. I'm going to search out for you, okay?
Alright, so you should already have the benchmark assessment, and that just has our first benchmark and our second benchmark aligned out for reading and for math. And it is broken into the first one for both reading and math, they're broken down into all categories. And then you have your low SES, and then you have your special education population.
Get it. Hold on.
Alright, so first is their scorecard, and I don't know if I can fill out. First is our scorecard, and you can see in English, language arts, we're in yellow, with partially meet standards there. For mathematics, we're in the red, and to me that red is a little misleading because it looks like an awful lot of red. But the way it was explained was the more red it is, it's actually ready to move up to the next level. So for the yellow, we have a little ways to go before we move up into the blue where we want it to be. We have our graduation rates and attendance. We have a ways to go for attendance. But our post-secondary assessment, we are in green for. So these are last year's assessment data for English proficiency. The red is the state and blue is Gilmer County. So we know we have some work to do there. We are working towards improving those. So next is math for our 6th grade through 11th grade. We did not have test data last year for general summative. They don't assess 9th grade, but we do have the PSAT 8-9, and those are further improvements. So here's science for both 5th grade and 8th grade from last year. Now, here is our pre-SAT 8-9 test scores, and from back there it's kind of hard to read. But if you look, for our school, we scored, for a total mean score, we scored 828. Whereas the state, the entire state, 3,284 of them, they scored 815. So better than state average, but not better than national. Here's a further breakdown for each one of these. You can see on your paper we have reading, writing, math, and then down below it tells how many met standards and how many did not. For our 10th grade, our school scored 894, where the state scored 866 for total average. For national, for the entire group that took the pre-SAT 10, they scored 907. So we almost, within 13 points, almost made national. Again, the breakdowns. Breakdowns per score were really close. So we had straight 23s for reading, 23 over 22 for written language, and 22 where the national group had 22 for mathematics. Our SAT scores were lower than 9th and 10th grade. We scored 906, and the national average overall was 962. Again, breakdown scores for reading, writing and language, and math, and then how many met standards and the percentage that did not meet standards. So here's a better graph to show you where we are for our SAT scores as opposed to where the state averages. So it's just a little easier to see. Those are 10, 11, and 12, and then the average of all of those grades together. Yes, more blue. Yes, very blue. So then we have made our benchmarks. Now these that you'll go through for the next few pages, they've actually followed the students through the years. So on this one, this will be 2021 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade. So when now that 7th grade is the 8th grade, that 8th grade is now the 9th grade, and the 9th grade. But we have the incoming 6th grade. So then for our STAR benchmarks, these are how our first benchmark compared to our second benchmark went, and they average it up both of those. So we still have some work to do, and we're working on that. High school reading. Again, blue is the first benchmark, and red is the second benchmark. So we did better in reading. Now, some ways that we have been implementing to improve our testing scores and assessment scores is we have linked the students' College Board accounts to Khan Academy. And what that does is it actually takes their actual, if they took it to last year, the exception is this year's 9th grade. So for 10th and 11th and 12th grade, their SAT scores are now linked into Khan Academy. So based on where they were weak in when they assessed for SAT, Khan Academy will have improvement plans and lessons that they can work towards for that. They also have practice tests where they can help strengthen those and get more comfortable with the test. We talked about IXL. Before IXL actually stands for IXL. So it is a program that the kids will take a diagnostic, and they take the diagnostic about every 2-3 weeks, maybe once a month, and it updates their scores. And based on that, IXL will give recommendations for those kids to work on, a lot like Khan Academy, where those kids can work on those weakened areas to help strengthen it up. Additionally, with IXL, you can attach lessons to whatever you're working on. So they have all kinds of lessons for Algebra 1, for Algebra 2, for geometry. We have it for reading. So the kids can get in there and they can practice and work in there and it can actually go along with their lesson. We have our STAR benchmark assessments, and then we have been practicing with practice tests for SAT to get the kids comfortable in that testing environment. A lot of POD questions that were talked about before come from College Board. In my class, all of my problem of the day are actual College Board, the SAT questions that have been thrown out. You can actually go in there and practice, and the kids every day are exposed to at least one SAT question when we practice.
So our next section, we'd like to share with you. Do you have any questions for Heather, for me, on system data, or before we move on? We have a program that's included here at Gilmer County High School and at the elementary schools called Communities and Schools. And this program came to us, I think, the second year as a principal. We didn't really know what it was. And I said, if we can do these three things, then I'm all for it. Sign me up. And then when we went to the first meeting, we found out that we didn't know what it was. And they could do all these other things. And we had to learn what it was and learn how it fit. And so you might ask, is it counseling? Not formal counseling, but there's a lot of meeting with kids and talking with kids and what can we do to help you and how can you do things better. Let's look at your grades and let's sit down and talk about where you are at school. There's a lot of that. Is it about meeting physical needs for kids and providing them cosmetics and things to book bags and everything from notebooks to pencils to food. Yep, it provides for their physical needs, but it also helps pull together outside of our school all these community entities that want to help Gilmer County High School help kids, and there's a part of that as well. So and that's not a very good overview because it does a whole lot more. They're involved in our student assistance team, so every time we have a student assistance team meeting, we have our communities and schools also there and say, let's have you check in with Mr. Fitzwater and let's look at your grades each week and let's put that part of your plan going to get you organized. So we'll go to your locker and it's going to help you think through all the trash that's there and clean things up and stay organized. Because believe it or not, a lot of kids' grades really come back to organization. Really come back to do they have the things that they need. Really comes back to missing assignments and zeros that's lowered their grades. And that doesn't really show what they know in the West Virginia content standards when it's a kid that just needs some direction. And that's just part of what they do. So I'm going to turn it over to them. And this is Jared Fitzwater and Alicia Martin. Alicia works mostly with our high school level. Jared on the middle school. That's why we have two, because we're kind of two schools under one roof. And they'll tell about their program and about what their goals are and how they're meeting their goals. And we're very thrilled that they're part of our school. So I'm welcome.
So what Jared has provided you guys is our student and school snapshot. So we collect a lot of data throughout the year just to show what we're doing and how we're doing it and how it's working. So right now we have 41 case managed students within the school, and that's within the middle school and the high school. And those are students that we work with one-on-one particularly, and they have been referred to us either by administration, by parents, by teachers, or even the student requesting assistance themselves. But we work with the students as the whole student body as a whole because we work on a tiered system. We have our Tier 1 supports, which are provided to all students within the school. Our Tier 2 and 3 supports, which are provided to our case-managed students. But our Tier 2 supports can also be smaller groups of students. So if you're just focusing on one grade level or one particular set of students. And then our Tier 3 supports are the direct one-on-one with our case-managed students. If you turn to page 2, that tells you about our Tier 1 supports that we provide. So far this school year, we've provided 72 different supports, and you can see below the pie chart the different types of supports that we provide. So we do a lot of different things with the students, not just academics, or as Mr. Putnam said, we work with the students on social emotional learning, we work with them on social skills, we work with them on college and career preparation, family engagement, we work with the parents if they need assistance, their physical health, behavioral interventions or modifications. So we do a lot of different types of services for the students. Or we're connecting them with other agencies or people that can provide those supports and services to them. So that's where it comes in that Mr. Putnam discussed us working with the community. So whether we need to be working closely with the DHHR on providing things for the family, or different churches in the area that can provide things, the FRN, CRI, all those community supports, bringing them in to assist the students and their families. You can see on the second pie chart that discusses the basic needs and resources that we provide, because there's so many times that students are facing things where they don't have what they need in order to move forward in school, whether it's clothing or shoes or school supplies, food, personal hygiene products. We do all of that for the students. In our office, which you guys will see here in a little bit in your walkthrough, we have what we call the Titan Closet. We built that last year, or kind of put it together last year, where the students have access to clothing throughout the day. That's if they have accidents, if they rip their pants, if they have to change their shirt because of a dress code violation, or whatever it is, so that we can keep them in school and not send them home for anything. And then we have the personal hygiene products. We have everything they could possibly need, from deodorant, shampoo, body wash, and all of this stuff is donations from the community, different places within the community. Food as well, and then school supplies if they need anything from there. And then if there's something that we don't have that they need, we have different agencies within the community that we know that we can contact and say, hey, we need this particular item for this issue, and we generally get it. I'll go ahead and let Jared talk about our goals.
Inside of the CIS model, we work closely with the administration and our school support plan to kind of mirror it in a little bit of a way. So far this year, we decided to work with the plan to work on building up our academics. This year, we've been looking at our STAR assessments to see if we can show any improvement. We'll take 1 point. Because here's the thing, a lot of times when we look at improvement, we expect the big growth. But that's not something that happens overnight. We want the small growth. We want to show that our students are taking, even if it's just a baby step in the right direction. And so far, when we're looking at our data, we're seeing that. We're seeing our case-managed students actually begin to take that step forward. Now, we began to look at our beginning data. A lot of students that we're working with were maybe 2, 3 grade levels behind. Is it possible in 1 year to get them caught up complete to where they should be? No. Generally, it's not. But we like to see that small step of growth forward. And when you begin to look at our data, and by the way, this is just a very brief overview. If you wish to see our more detailed statistics of all of our data plots, please contact us. We'd be glad to share that with you. But we're seeing all of our students begin to take some progress forward. Now, one thing I do want to point out, when we get back to our academic side, you're going to see some students that are on our plan. It said that they fell behind. They're beginning to drop in numbers in the assessment. What we see is a lot of our students are either higher in math and lower in English, or vice versa. And a lot of those students that we're seeing scored extremely high in that higher growth in the first assessment. And when it came time for them to take the second assessment, they really couldn't go above it because they were already pushed to their max in the first. So I do want to caution you that when we get to it. And if you turn to the next section of the pie graphs, we'll be getting into the Tier 2 supports.
So the tier 2 and the tier 3 supports, we talked about that a little bit. But that's more the one-on-one, those are the SAT meetings, that's sitting down with students, going over their grades, finding out what's missing, why it's missing, and if we can get it turned in and get that taken care of. It's also going over any of their data that they have that we need to review and say, hey, maybe we need to work on this, or we need to work here. Our main goal for our program, the Communities in Schools program focuses on 3 different things: academics, behavior, and course performance. We're required by our program, by the state, to focus in on one of those, while each of those affect each other. So ultimately, we work on all of those, but our main goal for the state is academics, because that's what aligns with our strategic plan here at the high school. So our academic goal it is covered by all of those things. Right now, school-wide, we have seen a 61% increase from the first benchmark to the second benchmark in math, and then a 60% increase for English. And that can be 1 point, or it can be 174 points. Any type of growth is a positive direction. And then if you look on the last page, it shows you the progress monitoring for our student goals. And that's our case managed students. So you'll see that 70% of our case managed students are progressing. 13% is showing no progress, but they're kind of staying the same where they were the first benchmark. And then we've got 13% of students that have declined. But as far as the tier 2 and tier 3 supports, or actually all of the supports, Jared and I have been doing a lot of stuff throughout the school year. You've probably seen recently that we took a trip to Snowshoe based on benchmark scores, and we took 140 students, and there was 20 from each grade level. With those students, we took the top 10, the top 5 in English and the top 5 in math scores from each grade level, and then we took the top 10 students from each grade level that showed the most growth in both math and English combined. We focus in on helping the students get to tutoring, sending them there, and then, like I said, working with them through their courses to see what's missing and what we need to do. But then we also have guest speakers come in. We have events throughout the school year, just kind of encouraging them to participate and to behave, to show up to school, to turn their stuff in, and then working with them as far as encouraging career in college as well.
Not really. I will say though, we have seen a big boost in relationships with kids. If nothing else, the relationships alone with the students. To see this, how they have at first began to question whether or not to come to us. So now we're seeing students who come and say, hey, listen, I'm struggling with this. And we're actually seeing that with parents as well. They're coming in, they're calling and saying, hey, can we have a meeting real quick? They come in and say, hey, listen, we're struggling with getting an understanding of this concept. How can we get help? If nothing else, we're seeing that. We're seeing that relationship build between this community, the school, and the families all together come together as one. And I think that's been the biggest blessing of it all. Because we're seeing this whole 360-degree, a circle of unity. Do you guys have any questions? Anything else?
Thank you, that's very important.
So we're going to get to the food. We'd like to give an opportunity for the Board of Education to take a tour of the building. And some teachers have left the doors unlocked, and I've got keys. We're going to step in and look at the classrooms. Some of our board members maybe, when you come to pick up a child, when you come to visit the school, maybe you've never been through the school. Maybe you've never been in classrooms. And we would like for you to know where things are and kind of get a picture in your mind of how the school's laid out and be able to see our facilities as well. So let's do that next. Let's just all together take a walk through the school. I'll take my master key. Mr. Pritchard, would you be willing to come with us and maybe give us a little 411 on some of the building projects and things too? All right, that'd be great. Everybody's walking the way. Like to walk through the building. in their building. If there's time to, come this way and you'd like to take a tour through the building or something, let me know. And individually, we can walk through as well. So thank you for being here. If you have any further questions, I'm open to that. And we can have a transition to your regular board meeting.
I just want to, congratulate your staff and you and the people who put this presentation together for us. It was very informative. The trip through the building was, again, kind of reminisce on, when we were here versus what it looks like now. So that was very helpful and appreciative for that.
Thank you.
Dad, just to see where some of the projects are going, probably come along and see what, see, like in real life instead of paper. It's really nice.
Mr. Board, okay, moving on. Okay. All right, so we will get back into the regular board meeting. Next on the agenda is the consent agenda. We'll move to the minutes. Has everybody read the minutes?
Yes.
Motion to approve the minutes as written.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, been moved and seconded to accept the minutes as presented. Is there any further discussion or amendments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. All right, at this time we'll move on to the treasurer's report. Mr. Chester.
Good evening. Tonight I have for you the schedule of checks to be written, the monthly financial report, and budget supplements and transfers. It was brought to my attention today, Dustin called me and he said, I think you forgot to give us the December report. I emailed that to you. My fault. Not expecting approval for it along with the January report tonight. But I will be bringing that back to your attention at our next meeting in February to get that approved. There were a couple questions about what budget supplements and transfers were all about. There are some carryover entries on there. And just for you to know, supplements are when we get an additional grant award or something that wasn't originally budgeted for this year's fiscal budget. Those are budget transfers are when we have allocated funding from reserves or anywhere like that to meet a need in another area. Carryovers are prior year grants, step 7 funding, any little pockets of money that we have that we didn't spend but are still allowed to spend, we carry those over into the next fiscal year. And just so the board is aware, that requires approval by you when you see those adjustments. Those are pending. Those haven't happened. They're sitting out there in our accounting system pending approval by the board. And then once the board approves those transactions, they go to the state level and have to be approved by the state as well. So that's a formal process. Budget transfers, supplements, and carryovers all require board approval and approval by the state before those move forward. Adjusting journal entries, if something gets miscoded or something like that, that's just a normal everyday transaction that does not require board approval. One thing I will mention on the schedule of checks to be written, there was a question about a bus and what the budgeted amount approved by the board for the bus was. There was a total check written to Matheny's for $122,000 and something. That one check paid multiple invoices. The invoice for the bus was $117,082. And that was what the board approved back on the November the 14th meeting for the purchase of said bus. And as with anything anymore, the cost of a bus continues to rise. And we get state aid funding that's allocated specifically for one bus each year, just for your information. Are there any questions, comments that you have for me tonight?
No, sir.
Make a motion that we approve the treasurer's report.
Is there a second?
Second.
been properly moved and seconded that we approve the treasurer's report. Is there any further discussion or amendments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, we'll move into new business. The first item is the resolution for Senate Bill 41. Dr. Minnie, do you have anything you want to say?
This is just a resolution for the Gilmer County Board of Education's affirmation and commitment and support for the passage of Senate Bill 41, which will fund our district for 1,200 students. And it also affects Calhoun and Work counties. And it sets a base enrollment, net enrollment number that more accurately determines the county's basic foundation program current need. And it also prioritizes that funding and be calculated in the 23 school year, 24 school year, and all the years after that. And this resolution, and I don't know if you want me to read it in particular, but this resolution is a support and affirmation of that Senate bill for passage.
I'd like to make a motion that we pass a resolution on Senate Bill 41.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, it's been properly moved and seconded that we pass this resolution for Senate Bill 41. Is there any further discussion or amendment?
No, but I just want to make it to those out there watching that this is something that can really change our county and our school systems, and now's the time to start talking about it and get the community behind it, so we can start reaching out to the people that can really make a difference down in Charleston.
And again, I'd like to thank Dr. Minnie for his work on that and the work that he's continuing to do to get that out of committee and on the floor of the Senate to see if we can get that passed. So, all right, if there's no further amendments or discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. All right. Next item, recommendation for storm water collection project at Gilmer County High School. Mr. Frazier, do you have a report or anything we need to?
No, what I put in your packet there was Green River Group. I think it was $126,100. And that was the lowest bid of 4 bidders in that. It's a project out back. I don't know if you peeked out back during your tour or not, but it's from the steps going up to the student parking lot down towards the greenhouse. So it's kind of from this half going down. It's a project we pretty much have to do with that animal processing classroom coming soon. We're going to spend $1.2 million on that animal processing classroom. And I would recommend the board that we take care of this drainage issue so we don't spend $1.2 million on an animal processing classroom and it floods the first hard rain. That is the recommendation, Green River Group. I will tell the board, I think it's interesting, John Fox is a local guy there, JT Fox's dad, and he's with Green River Group. So always feel good there. We've got a local person, somebody we all know, and he'll be in charge of that project. He's going to be the main contact on that project. So I think that's a good thing for us.
All right, do I have a motion?
So moved.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
All right, it's been properly moved and seconded to approve the Green River Group as well as bill in that storm water collection project. Is there any further discussion or amendment? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. All righty, we will move on to a field trip request to Virginia Beach. Dr. Manning.
This is just what I gather senior trip, class of 2023 field trip request.
Make a motion to approve the field trip request.
Second that.
Okay. It's been properly moved and seconded to approve the field trip request. Is there any further discussion or amendments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. All right, we will move on to letter E, ISD travel for professionals. Dr. Manning.
This is just, and I believe grant-funded professional development, but it's out of state, and the district has a policy that any time that there's out-of-state travel, that it has to be approved by the board. And so it is set aside for technology professional development, and there's going to be a group of teachers that go and receive the newest and best professional development on technology integration strategies.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All right, then properly moved and seconded, to allow the out-of-state travel this summer for the teacher professionals. Is there any further discussion or amendments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. All right, we'll go to letter F, online payment vendor, Ed Leo. I don't know if I said that correct.
Ed Leo, yeah. This kind of all started during COVID with athletic, specifically. I know we're here to talk about academics and stuff like that, but this all came up during COVID. Athletic events and different things like that. How are people to pay for stuff when they couldn't be there and they couldn't be here? So this is something that has become a state requirement that each county, each school in each county has to provide the option for parents, teachers, whoever to go online and make payments for any student-related fees, teacher's lunch bill, and specifically athletic tickets. In doing research on this, I found that there were two companies that specifically related, that integrated with our schools, School Funds Online, which is the school level accounting software. And we examined two of those. We had a presentation from Ed Leo, and the other entity that provides that service was a Kev Group. The Ed Leo was by far the most user-friendly. I don't know if you guys have ever been online trying to go through a website, and when everything's hidden and you don't know where to go, it's really, really hard to find what you're looking for. And the Ed Leo product and package was very open, very visual, and easy to know what you're getting into. And that is a cost to the county of a whopping $99 annually. The other program got quite expensive because it was like $250 per school, $50 per school per training that they provided. It was just, you were getting nickel and dime everywhere. And the $99 covers the online ticket management portion of this software. The fees for this are passed on like a convenience fee for the online payment option. You don't have to pay online, but if you do, kind of like anywhere you go, just know you're going to pay a little bit of a premium for that processing. And that is established, I think, might have been like 2%. It wasn't very much, depending on whether you paid with a debit card or a credit card. And then if you paid with particular credit cards, the percentages that those credit cards charge is different. But it is an option. I want everybody to realize that it's just an option. Nobody's going to be forced to go pay online. It is just an option that we are now required to provide. So that is the information that I have for you with Ed Leo. Are there any questions? I'll do my best to answer.
When did it become state mandate? Like, how long do we have? You say
We've had roughly, it became a state mandate roughly maybe about a year ago. Well, it's not a requirement until after March 1st of this year.
Okay.
But we got news of it, but they were still trying to kick around how it was going to be implemented, who was going to do this. It took the state a while. The state has its own option out there to provide that online payment platform. But the more and more requirements you place on people, I feel it's my job to fulfill the requirement, keep us in compliance, but also make it as easy for the community, for our employees to carry it out. And that by far has been
the easiest one you found?
The easiest and best option that I've found, and the cheapest. A lot of these, you don't necessarily have to have all these fancy scanners and stuff for this to work. You can, but a lot of the other options, I don't want our secretaries to necessarily become bank tellers to where they're swiping debit card machines and all of that. I want to try to keep us in compliance and keep it as simple as possible. And that is our best option and cheapest. So that was a win-win.
So we just need a motion to approve.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so make that motion. Okay, is Is there a second?
Second.
All right, it's been properly moved and seconded to accept EDLIO as the online payment system for Gilmer County Schools. Is there any further discussion or amendments to that motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. Alright. Move on to letter G, policy 3084, to be placed on review. Dr.
Make a
Bennett, do you have-
motion.
do you have anything for that, Dr. Bennett?
I'm just recommending it be placed on review. It's an exemption to compulsory school attendance requirement for homeschool students.
I make a motion that we place policy 3084 on review.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, been properly moved and seconded that policy 3084 go on review. Is there further discussion or amendments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. Right. We have no old and unfinished business. Okay, so we will move to personnel. At this time, I move pursuant to West Virginia Code 6-9A-4 of the West Virginia Code that the board go into executive session to discuss personnel and personnel matters which, if discussed in public, might affect adversely the reputation of any person. Is there a second? Second. All right. It's been properly moved and seconded to go into executive session. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Putnam, we have a conference.
Hey, you just went down the hall on the left.
Hey.
Make a motion, we rise out of executive session.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded to rise from executive session. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. All right, we will go back to the personnel agenda. Dr. Benny, do you have a recommendation?
Under professional agenda, Tanya Wine, English teacher, Gilmer County High School, to hire Tanya Wine, and Peggy Runyon, a resignation, substitute teacher, effective 1/26/23.
Make a motion that we move to approve the professional portion of the personnel.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded to approve the professional section of the personnel agenda. Is there any further discussion or amendments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. All right, we'll go to service.
Service recommendation, Sam Perrin, resignation, general maintenance, effective 2/6/23. Peggy Runyon, resignation, substitute cook, effective 1/26/23. Peggy Runyon, resignation, substitute classroom/transportation aide, effective 1/26/23. Suzanne Ratliff, substitute classroom transportation aide, effective 1/31/23. Martha Clutter, resignation, substitute secretary, effective 2/3/23. And Michaela Jones, resignation, classroom transportation aide, 1/31/23.
Motion that we move to approve the service portion of the personnel list.
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded to approve the service section of the personnel agenda. Any further discussion or amendments?
Joe, who's taking over the general maintenance?
We'll have to post once you
Still
send this
post?
resignation.
Okay.
Yes.
He's just tendered his resignation.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Any further discussion?
No.
Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. All right, at this time, I want to turn the gavel over to Vice President Fresh Hour, as me and Mr. Shetman need to recuse ourselves to personal conflicts and consent.
So, continuing on with personnel, extracurricular.
So extracurricular recommendations, Ben Hall, head varsity football coach. Ben Hall, head varsity baseball coach. Amanda Williams, head varsity boys track coach. Amanda Williams, head varsity girls track coach. Amanda Williams, resignation, head middle school girls and boys track coach pending approval of varsity position. Hannah Moore, resignation, head mini Titan softball coach, effective 2/1/23. Brett Chapman, resignation, auxiliary varsity baseball coach. Ronnie Facemeyer, after school tutor, Gilmer County High School. Jacob Persinger, healthy choices tutor, Gilmer County Elementary School.
Make a motion that we approve the extracurricular portion of the personnel list.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
At this time, we'll continue on to superintendent's information.
Just give an update that I'll be traveling to Charleston on February 15th. I'll meet with many folks as I can about the passage of Senate Bill 41. My main goal is through the month of February and into March is to get this bill out of committee. It's currently in the Finance Committee, and try to get it in front of the folks at the Senate to pass and then on to the House. With that being said, we've been having budget seasons before us. You guys are going to be having some budget meetings and discussion over the spring, and that Senate bill passage directly reflects some of those budgetary needs moving forward. As outlined in the monthly event matrix that I've been giving you guys, the work session we had today is going to be coupled with mission and vision, Board of Education and goals, and several other work sessions. It's just a reminder those things are going to be coming forward in the future. Another reminder I have for you is that the WVSBA, West Virginia School Board Association retreat is February 17th and 18th in Charleston. And I believe Lisa's got that information for you if you need it. Moving on down to the continuous improvement. Just one quick update. We've been working the past few weeks, Ms. Mason and myself and school principals and Skip Hackworth and a group of folks in analyzing the district benchmark series. We're currently going to be piloting a new benchmark series. It's called iReady, and we've selected groups of teachers in grade 3 through 10 to pilot this program. We're hoping that we can see some immediate effect on test scores, and very excited to get started with some of that. And we're starting integrating the students into that program currently. That's all I've got.
All right. Move on to board member comments. Any board member?
Yeah, I got one. Mr. Hall, I want to just say good luck in your upcoming seasons. You know, you'll be hard pressed to find an assistant coach that just resigned today. Just there's a bar set there, but I wish you the best of luck. And you know, just being from a small county and stuff, I just hope that you can build the culture and get the kids support and really get them buy-in. I think you'll be really, if you can get that, I think you'll be really successful. I think you got a great group of boys, football and baseball, and just really looking forward to coming out and watching you guys compete in the upcoming years. Yeah. That's all I got.
Any other comments?
I'll just say, you know, obviously I've been on the board for a little while now. And, I moved back to this county and this position there, but I can't speak for why they voted to put me on because it's up to them. But why I put in was I want to see the best for the county. We got our challenges. So I'm learning a lot. And I want to make sure that we continue to go in the right direction and do what's best for the school over anything else. So that's why I'm here and what I'm trying to do. So far, I think we're working well together, and I look forward to continuing.
Future's bright.
Anyone else?
Senate Bill 41. Keep pushing that.
All right, do I have a motion to adjourn? Is there a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries.